Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click a bell so you get the notification of when we're releasing a new video. I'm sitting today with Willie Pelser. Hello, Willie.
Morning, Robin.
So, Willie, I think I haven't seen you for a while. You've been on motorcycles and traveling the country. But exciting news. We had the budget this week, and I see you've got a smile on your face. So I'm assuming you're a happy economist.
Yeah, Robin, I actually listened for the first time. I listened to the whole speech because we were in the car. And it was interesting when it started. I think it's the speaker. When she introduced him, she said to him, listen, this is budget 1.0. Obviously a joke from what we happened last year where we had 1.0 and then 2.0. So, yeah, Robin, I think it's the best sort of budget since 2012 in my analysis. Just because previously it was always a case of a non-event almost, because we were just kicking the can in principle down the line. Did a few tweaks and that type of thing. So in this one, what stood out for me, Robin, is government relies on their business being GDP to generate revenue. And then obviously they've got the expenditure side. So what we've seen in the economy is we've seen a slight increase in GDP itself. So obviously there's a revenue overrun. But the revenue overrun obviously was also because of what's happening in the commodity space. So we had a surplus on there. What government was focusing on in this budget was actually pro-growth in quite a few areas. So what stood out for me, Robin, is we're always focused on the big companies, but what also sustains the economy is your medium size or your smaller businesses. So what we've seen there is actually a change in when you need to pay VAT. 1 million turnover was the sort of the threshold previously. It's now 2.3 million, I think. So that's a huge adjustment. For a small guy to get to a turnover of even 1 million or so before he needs to pay, it's effectively a nice little business going. So, and then obviously there's lots of leniency when private enterprises sell, the smaller ones, on capital gains tax. That I'm not going to quote those numbers, but there's also huge changes when you sell your business. So it makes it easier for the medium-sized person to do business, create something new, sell it off, that type of thing. For us as consumers, 2 years we were sitting and hoping that we will pay less tax through the sort of bracket creep principle. They made those adjustments. And I think for our industry, Robin, that's what stands out is obviously on tax-free savings. So we've seen the adjustment there previously on an annual basis. You could do 36. It's now 46. I think someone got stuck on the 6. Should have been 48. It makes it divisible by 12 easier. So now your debit order, if you do monthly, has to be 3,833 33 rand and a few cents. Could have been a rounded number. So, but it is an adjustment.
Yes.
I think for me, I would have liked to see that they also made that threshold up to 500,000. Maybe 1 million or whatever to entice saving, because that's what we need in the country.
But we haven't, even if you'd been doing your full saving, you hadn't reached that 500.
No,
I think that was 16 years. So maybe when they get to that point, they will. I also highlighted that and looked at that.
So maybe something like that. And Robin, and then I thought back to the pro-growth principle. We are pushing a bit more money to Praza. Defense get a little bit more type of thing, but also on the infrastructure fund. There's the numbers there also over $1 trillion. Over $1 trillion. What I would like to see is for that to be spent now, big time. So and I think the foundation has been laid to do that. We don't have an issue on debt per se. Yes, when we quote the numbers debt to GDP, it's still alarmingly high numbers. But also, if your economy starts growing, that number by default, just because of the equation nature of it, will decline. It's not like we're budgeting more debt to come over time. It actually decelerate quite sharply in the next 2-3 years. So Robin, I think from that perspective, positive. I won't be surprised if one of these ratings companies, as we're recording today on Friday, tonight at 11 o'clock, send out the message that they've changed us on the investment, us on our rating a notch up type of thing, because we've seen it in the past where they thought the budget was great, that it happened on the same day. So that's also a vote of confidence. And in general, I think if we look at the markets, specifically if we look at the bond market, even the equity market and so on, and the currency, the event being the budget release on Wednesday was taken very positive.
Yes.
I'm happy. I'm pleased. It doesn't feel like it's just another can down the road. So
Yes.
Duncan Peterson impresses me more and more. He heads up Treasury, and that's the engine. That's where it happens. The Minister of Finance is just, he presents the speech, and then next year he says we've gone wrong or we've gone right.
Yes.
But this guy and his people in there, it's like a kieswetter at SARS.
Yes.
I think he will be more and more like Mr. Kieswetter.
Yes.
So we will hear the name Duncan Peterson going forward more and more and more.
Good. So Willie, just quickly from an economist's point of view, I think there's no doubt we got a windfall as a result of the commodity prices, gold, platinum, etc., and that has really sort of boosted the coffers. Now, one doesn't really know where those commodity prices are going to stay. But what government did here was investing in accelerating the engine as opposed to mopping that windfall into other areas.
Exactly.
Am I correct? So
Exactly.
we will benefit from this reinvestment into the economy in the following years to come, won't we?
So rounded numbers, we've got about a 28 billion surplus. 22 of that is going into GDP related or productive related expenditure, which is actually, it's a huge percentage. So you're 100% right. The rest of that overrun is going social grants. Some social grants get an extra 80 rand a month, that type of thing. So it's not, as you say, it's not been to the social spend or just into bottomless pits.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's very exciting. I think not just for us as consumers, but also for just the general economy and ultimately the markets, because this creates an environment where companies can increase their profits and maybe get some margin back. Willie, thanks so much for giving us some insight on that. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.